You don't mind if I swear, eh?
No, go ahead.
What's up, YouTube? EUGENIUS here, and I'm joined by... Who the fuck are you?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to use that.
Use it. I like that.
Really?
Yeah. I want this to be a free
Okay,
call.
I don't want you to be offended.
No. Come on, bring it on. So, I don't know who I am. Who am I? You know me as George, right?
Okay, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, for sure. Use it.
Ready? What's up, YouTube? EUGENIUS here, and I'm joined by... Who the fuck are you?
I have no idea.
I'm joined by George Zaharoff, and to be totally honest, I had no idea who you were 10 days ago until I seen you on a live with Ashton and Neil. And you were coming up to Toronto. Tell us a little bit about yourself, firstly.
Well, you know, my name is George Zaharoff. I'm George Zaharoff.
You must get a lot of, like, mispronunciations with that last name.
I do. And they mix the R with Zaharoff. Za like pizza. Zahar, like har. And then off like the switch. Zaharoff. But I get people go Zaharoff. I get called Zara. I get called Zenya.
Do they ask you where you're from? Like, you must...
So I'm Russian Greek. My mother's side's the Russian, and my father's side.
But Zaharoff it sounds almost Middle Eastern to me.
It's part of the Russian royal court that fled when Tsar Nicholas was taken away or whatever. They went down to Constantinople, and they became part of the Greeks there. And then the Ottomans threw them out, and they went to Greece. History of being moved around and resettled and all that. So that's the Zaharoffs.
That's amazing, actually. So Neil had gotten in contact with me, said you were heading to Toronto. You're doing this review the fragrance reviewer. So you're kind of reversing the process. Reviewers are reviewing fragrances, and you wanted to review the reviewer. And Neil said you were coming up to Toronto and you wanted to meet. And I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't know who this guy is or what he wants or what's going to happen or what to expect. And, you know, slowly I started watching your videos. But the whole time I was like, you know what? I want to do something new with my channel. And I want to start having people here on the sofa. So why am I so, like, against this? I don't understand my rationale. I'm like, why am I not inviting of this person? He's been around. He's created fragrances. He's a creator. He's a fashion designer. Why am I so against this? And it's just kind of my thought process. But I'm absolutely thrilled that you are here. You know, we've been speaking now for 3 or 4 hours, and you know, your positivity is infectious. Like your smile, your attitude, everything about you just exudes this positivity. And it's like you've got this aura, and I'm just drawn to this positivity. It's absolutely great. And what I want to ask you is...
Thank you.
You've been around the world. Like, we see the pictures. The pictures don't lie. You know, the jet setting, the parties, you know, all the goods, the luxury goods. What I want to know is, like, are you enlightened? Is George Zaharoff happy?
Oh, wow. That was a hard hit.
I don't mean to put you on the place, but I see you as this happy-go-lucky, living life, finding positivity in everything that passes through.
Do you know, I have to tell you something. I think that, because it's been a huge journey, I really have to tell you, you know, I am coming to the point in my life where... if I worry about something, I go, God will take care of it. Isn't that weird? Like,
let it go. You're just letting it go.
Like I have faith that whatever is going on, it'll be taken care of. Like, I have to do my part. It's not like I'm passive about it, but I just am in this sync where I know that the decisions that come into my mind and that I decide to move forward, that I push forward, that the universe will do its part. It's very weird that you say that. And I don't know if it's happiness or if it's just I can't explain it. Maybe it's just that Buddhist of just level, like just moving through life at like, just, I can't explain it to you. Does that make sense?
Not really, but
like just moving through life instead of having these huge swings of up and down of happiness and sadness and depression.
You just are.
I just try to just keep it as even as possible and just have faith that as I move through it, wow, but it's on a different level. So it's like on a happy level.
Right.
So
for somebody to be as positive as you, you must have gone through a lot of circumstance. Tell us a little bit about, you told us a little bit about, tell us about George Zaharoff and what he's been through. I mean, like, tell us a little bit about your fashion empire.
So I started, I've been selling to Nordstrom since I was 20.
Which is amazing.
What
I was doing at 20 years old is I was trading hockey cards.
It's interesting, yeah. And I remember being with the Italians trying to work on manufacturing. I was a junior at DePaul University while I was setting up the fashion house. And I remember bringing my luggage tags to the class to prove that I had traveled. So the teacher would be okay with it. I would leave Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I would fly back.
Wow.
And so during my junior and senior year, and the teacher started like embracing that and helping me so I wouldn't miss class.
That's amazing.
And I remember them eating or going out to lunch or having with these Italians, big Italian families. And they'll be like, "You're 20." And I would say, 20. And they're like, "Oh my God, you're so young."
Traveling the world.
Yeah.
Selling clothes.
Isn't that crazy? And then we showed in Milan.
Creating your brand empire.
I remember that. And then developed a fragrance. And Nordstrom took it as a concept. It was a clay, a wood cap, and the sprayer. And they said, "Don't go anywhere, it's ours." And it changed the whole trajectory.
It was love at first sight.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk to you about, you're now relaunching a new fragrance.
Right.
Tell us kind of the process involved in, from start to finish, without, you don't have to get into this long detail, but tell us some of the things that it takes to create your own fragrance.
So the first thing that you need, no matter how anyone sees it, is you need a lot of money. No matter how you see it. And it's not, I always tell people, what they see as George Zaharoff is not included in that. When I just look at the raw cost of starting a fragrance, it's a huge investment. And we do everything. So I designed all of the components, sourced all of the different pieces, and there's a team of us that are doing this. I have a small group of people at the office that does this. And so,
like your handlers?
Well, no, I have the money people. I have the money, a guy that handles the money. I have someone that does that's a go-between between the money and the marketing side of it. And then you have the design, and then you have social media. So there's a small group of us. But there's not handlers. There's people actually doing. I guess handler. I don't know.
But you have people that guide you through every step of the process.
Or manage it. Yeah, and so it has to be because you have all these different manufacturers. The cap. Think about everything that goes into the fragrance. You've got the actual fragrance, and that comes in as a raw material that needs to be macerated and filled and boxed and packaged, and so that's one thing in itself. Then you have the cap. The bottle, you have the little neck and the pump, the actuator, the dip tube, you have the box, you have the liner, all of these, then you have the packing that the box goes into the packing, and then you have the cello is different. The cello gets cello, but then you have to put them in pre-packs to ship to the store, right? And then you have that, and so it's a whole process.
Everything is sourced from different suppliers and
all of it. And when I tell
every piece is sourced from a different part
and designed, and so and those are all custom. So I paid for those molds. It's not nothing in what I do at least is something that I buy off a shelf. It's all custom made.
So let's take your last fragrance for example. How long was the process in the making? So
I had done 2 other fragrances, right, and I have a little bit more of experience under my belt. I wish I would have showed you some stuff, but there were times when we forgot to do a step on the glass, and so the cap would just turn around and around. It wouldn't stick on.
You didn't have
there was
an
no
anti.
step. And so that was like
anti-rotation.
exactly. So then we had to go buy another mold at $100 and some thousand, and we had to do more glass because it drove me crazy. So we had to learn through trial and error.
A perfectionist.
Oh my goodness! And so this time around, we had under our belt a certain thing to do. And remember, I did clothing. I do, we shoes, neckwear, shirts, all of that. So I kind of understand the process more now. So it isn't like I'm just jumping in. So anyway, to tell you that, so I would probably say you're looking at about 2 years.
Wow, 2 years.
Yeah, because
that's a long process.
And I'm a smaller guy, so I'm in line with Bulgari and Chanel and Versace. So when they're producing the glass for them, they got to squeeze me in, which is a little tiny order, which is still a lot. It's 50,000 minimum, and so they got to squeeze me in to, between the big guys. And so that too, so you got to get put into a line. Then there's, they have to pre-plan it because you have to fall into place with all the other brands. It's a lot.
What about the actual fragrance itself? What does it involve? Like, do you speak with the perfumer?
Absolutely.
Do you guys trade ideas? Do you have your say in what you want the fragrance to consist of or smell like? Or
100%. And the reason why I sought out the perfumer that had done the previous, we're living in a day and age now where, and this is also, I was thinking about how you like really good fragrance. Everything now is being pushed to be cheaper and synthetics and less oils. And that's why you have these linear fragrances. And it's interesting because people say, I don't want to tell you just yet, but people say my fragrance is this way, and it's because there's so many oils in there. I wanted something that was rich, that had some
depth.
Yeah, and
complexity.
So yes, and so I worked very closely with Claude Dare. He understands me. He understands. We have known each other for 30, 20 years, and so he understood what I wanted. And so when I was explaining to him. And also, a part of it's the heritage. I come from a background that's Russian and Greek, and so I wanted that.
You incorporated that into your
all
fragrance.
of that. It's
beautiful.
And
I love the sound of that.
Do
you quickly want to share the story about how you found Claude Dare?
Yeah,
the story you were telling me earlier, I thought it was remarkable, and I thought, it's a great story.
So this initially started out with me relaunching the Homme that was in 2001. And so we had a very successful fragrance. If many watching this are like, what is he? So we had a huge success in fragrance in the 90s and all the way up into 2001. 9/11, that one single day really affected my business, and I had literally had to close everything down. And I had everything destroyed. I had it's okay. I mean, looking back, I'm good with it. Like when I talk about it, I'm good with it. It's part of who I am. But it was really hard because I loved fragrances. It was my passion. I love it. I still do. And so I always had in my head this thing of restarting it. And so the fragrances were made by Quest. And Quest was a small boutique firm that did Hermes fragrances, the Jean Paul Gaultier, the Boston, the Le Mal. And so like really Angel. Okay. So really first class.
Right.
And they were bought by Givaudan, which is a huge, massive conglomerate. And a lot of people don't understand is that they also do fragrances and flavors. So these are not, I'm just going to spit out brands, but like the same company that does Chanel will do Tide soap, Winter Fresh will do.
Right. Those all have to be
Strawberry Jello
as well.
Right. It's all fragrances and flavors. And so Givaudan bought Quest. And so when it came time to relaunch the fragrance, when it finally, the moment in the space, I said I want to relaunch the men's, and they're like, there's nothing left. They
lost the formula.
They lost the formula with the buying and back and forth. And so I had to start a whole new fragrance, and I went out and got the oils. In the meantime, I'm trying to find Claude Dare. I could not find him anywhere.
So he was the perfumer of the original
because I was like, I need to find that. I wanted to find that same richness and that same feeling. And so Givaudan says, I go, what do I do? And Givaudan said, we'll start another fragrance. And I don't want another fragrance. I wanted to do this fragrance. And
it was sentimental.
Big thing. And so I'm on the plane. I'm talking to a dear friend of mine that handled a lot of my social media in Florida. And she asks me, so who's this perfumer you're looking for? And I'm like, you would know him. and she goes, try me. And I said, Claude Dare. She goes, my neighbor is best friends with Claudine, and it was like,
how amazing is
isn't that
that?
crazy?
Like,
And within 5 minutes, I was talking.
total manifestation, like
Yeah.
in your hands, you know.
And the synchronicity, because I've known her for a couple of years since then. It was a big thing. Think about it, the synchronicity. So yeah,
That's an amazing story. I love that. So a lot of people in the fragrance community, YouTubers, are starting their own fragrance right now. You're going to see a lot more of that.
yes.
What would be your biggest piece of advice to anybody wanting to start their own fragrance?
So there's a lot, but the number one thing, because I've found myself in a lot of problems with that myself, is the agreements that these YouTubers are making with whoever they're doing the fragrance, and that's the number one concern. Like I mean, that's something that's a huge thing that people have to be so careful for, because in their haste or their excitement of creating their own fragrance, they just have to make sure they know what they're getting into and what they're signing.
They
That's the
gotta
number one thing.
go through the contract.
And I'll give you an example. So if someone comes to you and says, I want to do a fragrance, and you say, oh, I love it, that's so cool, I could do my own fragrance. And then it's like, okay, but what happens if, after the first jaunt of having to get it out there and the excitement and people are buying it, how is it going to be handled? You don't want, what happens if you get a call, I don't even know if I want to talk about this, if you get a call saying, hey, your stuff ain't selling, you need to push your stuff.
Right. You're responsible.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
If your friend says, I have $1 million in inventory that I invested and you need to sell more, what do? Do you want that? That's a lot of stress to have. Or what happens if they dump the product? So now you're selling it for $100 and I need cash to get out of this thing, and I then dump it for $50 or $20 or $10. And these are really, you see? Or what happens if...
So they're producing the fragrances before they're... Like, if you say you've got all these fragrances you got to push, they're being made before they're even marketed.
Yeah, because there's minimums.
Right, okay. So you got to buy in minimum quantity.
Right, and then you got to get your return on investment. And you want to make... That's why it's so important, the business side of it.
To go through the contract.
Yeah. And because I know that these people that are creating fragrances, they're going to create a beautiful fragrance. I'm sure they're going to do a great job with it. These people know, the people that are on here doing their channels after us, smelling so many fragrances, they'll develop a beautiful fragrance.
Right.
My concern is the business side of it and what that entails. It's a lot.
Right. So they have some things to worry about. Okay, so we were talking about the positivity, just this positivity that you put out into the world. And I've noticed one thing about your fragrances is you place an affirmation inside every box.
Right.
Is this true?
Yes.
Tell us a little about that.
So almost all my products I have. So when I was going through some really difficult times, I really had to work through a lot of things. And so I would write on my mirror with a marker affirmation. When I would wake up, I would see it. I had in my Filofax at the time, I had all these affirmations. I would keep it in the refrigerator. I had them everywhere. And I put them in, and it helped me. It's really, you see it all the time, and it changes the way you think of things. And so I had it in my jackets. I have them, I'm in my hotel room, and I take it off, and I'm alone, and I need to make this deal, and I'm selling and hustling, and I take my jacket off, I throw it on the bed, and I say, I'm in control of my life.
You get that reminder.
It's a big deal, and it's a spark of energy that goes out into the world. And it's just a spark of goodness. That's
You're making the world a better place.
I
really like that. That really stood out when I was, just kind of stalking you on social media.
And I stalked you. But, seriously, though, when you see the videos, I did the process of creating the fragrance, and it was changing the world with the fragrance. And it was my wish of just putting goodness out with the hopes of just changing. Making a small change. We all want to make that. We all want to be a part of goodness in the world. And so that was my little wish.
That's excellent. Okay, so I've noticed in the short time that we've gotten to know each other that you're very conscious, you're very aware, you have very minimal distractions. I want to know what keeps you sharp on a day-to-day basis. Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? Do you exercise? Do you read? Do you walk through nature? What keeps you going?
So I exercise. So I opened the store on Oak Street in Chicago about a month and a half ago, and I've been traveling, so I've not had that connection hasn't been there of exercising, and so I need to jump into there. And if Glenn is watching this, he's probably like, George, he comes into my DMs and he's like, when are you going to get back to the gym? So I try to work out 3 days a week, and I try doing cardio 2 days. So it's 5 days.
Keeps your mind fresh and
it helps.
set.
It's a big deal. It helps a lot.
Absolutely.
And then meditation and prayer. And so those things really, and creating stuff really connects you to things as well. It changes everything.
Excellent. All right. Is there anything, like, before we go that...
You haven't smelled the fragrance.
Oh, let's smell the fragrance.
You want to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the magic bag. Here it is. Okay, let's see.
That's the $17,000.
So go ahead and stick
Is
your
it
hand in there.
Louis Vuitton?
I don't know what it is.
Who knows what's going to come out of that
Let me
bag?
see. So go ahead and
Maybe
stick your hand
a wad
in
of
there.
cash. Pull
Right.
out a bag of thousands.
It's the crown jewels. Go ahead and pull it out.
I feel something vibrating in there. All right. I've never seen this before, and this is
And so
Zaharoff.
So you see like a metal piece. In the Byzantine times, the soldiers would wear a box under their breastplate with a ribbon around their necks, and they called it an encolpion.
Right.
And-
You're talking about this.
Yes.
All right. So this is not just something you randomly picked out at the 7-Eleven.
No.
Like, there's actually some thought went into this.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. You know how my kids go in and make their own Slurpee at the 7-Eleven?
The box pops out. Yeah. That's it. And so the soldiers would put it in there. They would put a religious artifact. They would put a locket of hair because they didn't have pictures or Instagram back then. And so the box was to represent something very special inside. So it's like a metal piece, which is it's hand done and it's put on here, and then the setup box. So,
I can tell a lot of love went into your product.
A lot of love.
I can see here, distributed by Zaharoff, Chicago, Illinois, made in the USA. So your name is all over this thing.
In my hands too.
Yeah. And is this the affirmation?
Yep.
There are infinite possibilities in my life.
How befitting.
Love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Something special awaits you.
So you're going to be the first one that I've explained this to. I haven't even explained this on my channel.
What's that?
In the back side, if you see where it says something special, do you see what else it says?
Number 103.
Go ahead.
Email your number to zsociety@zaharoff.com. Is that some kind of secret society?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And so you email, what I wanted to do, I didn't want it to be like, hey, sign up for my newsletter. I wanted to have a conversation with them. And so you email me and you become part of the Z Society.
And there she is. Do you want to explain the bottle a little bit? Like, is there something, I see this shape here.
It's a flask. I wanted something masculine.
Okay.
And I wanted something very simple. And so I made it into like this flask, and I wanted the Z, if you see the Z, I wanted it to be like a Superman. Like I wanted it to be this broad chest of this male, like I wanted it to be very powerful.
Okay, I didn't see that.
And so, and then I wanted it to be, because I knew that this was the brand
but
and my dreams.
You spelled poor Homme wrong here.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I would have died.
I bet after all that work. So this is how I do things here.
Beautiful fragrance.
Wow.
Do you see
So
it?
it's sweet, it's resinous, it's dry.
That was
I've never
doing that.
I've never smelt this before. There's something fresh in here.
Wow.
There's something leathery, and I get a lot of resins, like balsamic, balmy, fir balsams.
Yes.
Some kind of tree sap.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Lavender? Is there lavender?
Yeah.
It's got this dry raspiness to it. And I swear, like,
That's
I've
beautiful.
never smelt this before. I didn't even look up the notes. Is it listed on Fragrantica?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That was a beautiful way to do that.
It's
Because
a
it
very
changed.
nice
Did you see how
fragrance.
when you sprayed it was like that lavenderish, and then it quickly changed. I never had that experience before. Did you see that how you sprayed it? It was fresh. It went right into the dark.
It had this freshness to it.
And then went away.
But I got quite a bit of incense.
Yeah, but the lavender, what you just did, I'm freaked out. I'm like shook.
Why?
Because I'd never had that. Like, it went straight to that soapy lavender, and
there is a soapiness to this.
It changed right to it. Yeah, it changed.
You know what I see a lot of, and it drives me nuts on YouTube. And if you do this, you're guilty of it. But I see this.
Yeah, that
what
probably.
What are you gonna smell? Like alcohol? You know, like
yeah. They have to wait.
Like let it dissipate or let it do its thing. Gorgeous. See, this smells completely different to me than when you kind of bring it to you.
That's beautiful. That's a great way to do it. And I know that you're a true lover of fragrance. And this is made by Mom. Everything was premium, first class. I didn't want to have anything that was, secondary, or I wanted it to be first class.
George, I'm really proud of you. You've come a long way.
Right.
Right. Amazing. You're a success story and a role model for all of us, really.
You know what? When I hear that, for me, I have to earn the love of the community and the respect, and I have to work at that. And so I don't take it for granted, and I know that that's something that I have to constantly earn, and I'm going to work as hard as I can, because I want to bring the community together.
And I want to rip it apart.
In the process, I don't think so.
I'm just kidding.
But
that's EUGENIUS. That's not me, Eugene.
So I appreciate you having me. What do you think as a dry down? What do you think?
I smelt it on you earlier, and I liked it. It had a nice leathery, resinous dry down. It was a very pleasant fragrance.
Yeah, it's a very easy fragrance.
Yes, yes. It's not challenging, and it's not something that you're going to find typically at your Macy's counter. But a gorgeous fragrance.
So thank you.
Any last parting words?
No, thank you, everybody. He's a great guy.
And even better guy.
He's an awesome guy.
You're just saying that.
I'm excited to see what's in the future in store for your channel.
I'm excited too. Look for a lot of changes.
Yes.
And hopefully for the better. But thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic. Getting to know George Zaharoff. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.